All right, my friends, welcome back to Management Made Easy. I feel like each time, Maria, I'm going to be like, in today's episode of Management. Listen, y'all, first of all, if this is your first time here, welcome, okay? Get ready for a time, okay? A time will be ahead, and you will be going back to our last two episodes to hear what we had to say this season. But today, we are calling out what we call the winging it approach.
Yes, Christiana. I'm Maria Doutruche, here to help us all build a solid management foundation. And just like we'll be doing today, rein in that winging it approach.
Oh my gosh. Also, Maria just wants to, she's the chief vibes officer at management, okay? Because vibes are very important.
Very. I am the chief. This is going to be so hard for me.
I know. Okay. So, y'all, putting together this episode was so funny because Maria and I grew up in a time where, let me tell you something, if you had to wing it, you're just going to wing it. Okay. Oh, I forgot. I'm Kashana Palmer, y'all, your co-host, management CEO, and author of Busy is a four-letter word. Listen, so I want to get into why improvisation just isn't a sustainable strategy. But I was saying that before we started to do this episode, we actually laughed at the fact that we are officially adults because we actually have a podcast plan. We
Yes.
actually have episode outlines. We actually have clear call to actions that we discussed beforehand. We have research backed evidence to go along with our anecdotal stories. So I feel as if we are modeling the thing that we want people to experience.
Yes, yes. This is no catch as catch can, shooting from
No,
the hip.
no.
That's not how this is coming together. And let me just say, Kashana, I appreciate your leadership in this area because what I used to consider winging it, right? Like there are phases to this, right? I was winging it.
We should talk about it. There are definitely phases to
I
winging it.
was winging it. And because I was winging it and winning at it while winging it, I
Woo!
got to a point where I was winging it, but it wasn't the same type of winging it because I had all this experience that I gleaned and gained while winging
Mm-hmm.
it. And so let's just get into the
Ooh.
thing,
Let's
Kashana.
get
Get
into
into
it. Oh my gosh, because that I was like the phases of winging it. Holy crap. So let's talk about this, but from a risk perspective, because I want us to talk about these phases. So winging it, y'all, I had to laugh because let me tell you how it leads to inconsistent leadership and team confusion. Your team is confused. When you wing it, your team is looking at every Slack message or Teams message that comes in with the only side eye because they don't know which manager they are getting on today. And to be clear, they know when you are full of it.
They know already. And if they don't know, they have a very strong sense that something is afoot.
Something is afoot. Something is
You're
incorrect.
not hiding anything by winging it. You're not convincing folks that you know something you don't know. That's not actually what's happening
That's
when
not
you're
what's
winging
happening.
it. And it often stems from a lack of training or
Yep.
some fear you have of appearing incompetent.
Mm.
But
Mm.
what's actually happening while you're just like, oh, we'll do this, then we'll do that. Oh, just trust me, right? Trust the process is no, people can tell. I don't think this person knows what we're doing, why we're doing it, or where it's going to take us.
They can tell.
They can tell.
And if any of your sentences lately have started with, this morning I was in the shower and I was thinking, woo, woo, hold on. And to all my fellow visionaries in the house, I see you and I hear you, and I want you to know your team members can't stand you. And in order to lead with ease, you actually have to have team members who want to go hard in the paint for you, not just because they love you, but because they will follow you anywhere, because they feel clear that even when they're not clear, you're clear.
And to that point, to have a team that goes hard in the paint for you, it goes beyond you, right? It's
Yes.
like, I'm willing to go hard in the paint for this vision. I'm willing to go hard in the paint for this plan. I
Yes.
believe in my contribution to this strategy and I want to see it through, not just for my manager, but because I'm bought into this.
I'm
This
bought into
thing
it.
that has been explained to me and made clear to me, and that is why I can buy into it, because the clarity aligns with a value I have and a need that I have that I'm connecting with what it is we're doing. But if you're just pew, 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 shooting from the hip,
No,
people,
no.
your team members don't want to catch strays.
They really
And
don't.
so they're
They're
going
not
to
interested in
start
catching the strays.
chucking and jiving and bobbing and weaving. They're going to do all this off.
They were like, we thought we came to work. We didn't realize we were going to play paintball.
Look,
Okay?
people are going to start showing up to meetings doing that Matrix dance, just giving back, arms flailing. They're not falling slowly into the abyss with you. Nobody wants to go on that ride.
I mean, at all. And frankly, you don't want to go on that ride either. Okay? Now, and speaking as somebody who still wings it sometimes, but definitely does not wing it most of the time. Winging it now. Well, before Maria, let me just confess. This is my confession. Winging it used to give me a rush.
We'll talk about it.
So I used to think, oh, I wait till the last minute because that's when I do my best work. Oh, I'm gonna go up on stage and I'm just gonna talk because I'm gonna read the audience. I'm just gonna do this presentation that I just finished 10 minutes ago and I'm gonna know all the details because they don't know. I'm gonna walk into this donor meeting wildly unprepared because ultimately I'm just gonna build a relationship with them. They'll say yes.
Look, Kashana, you are speaking from your own experience and you are stepping on the people's toes.
Yikes.
It's not your tight up shoes, Lucille, it's you.
It's you. And so the funny part about this is that all it did was fuel my sense of feeling like I was a fake, an imposter, a phony. All my lack of preparedness did was make me feel worse about myself.
Even while you were like wowing the audiences and closing deals?
Yes. Because when I would get off stage, as opposed to being like, ooh, I've changed lives. When I left the meeting, as opposed to being like, people came to an understanding. As opposed to leaving a donor meeting going, yes, I have gotten that person who wants to co-pilot this whole thing with my organization. I would leave feeling relieved that I wasn't found out.
Oh, talking about the rush of that
Come on,
feeling.
talk about the rush.
That gets to, it's this mix, right? For some people out there, let me just tell on myself in case this resonates. It was this mix of, got away with it again. And is the next time the time they find out I am up here flying by the seat of my pants.
Correct.
Like, can I actually pull this off again? I don't care that I've just done it 20 times. Do I have it within me to do 21? And not within me, like, can I pull it off? But, like, it's taken a toll on me. It feels like I'm not being the me that I actually want to be, which is prepared and poised and, a trustworthy person of integrity who said, yeah, I can actually stand by this work because I've done the research. I've gone through the rehearsal. I'm ready. It makes you a liar because you're saying you're ready and you're not really ready.
And you're not really right. And you're just out of integrity with yourself. And for many of us, we've gotten rewarded for winging it since we were kids. Let me tell you a quick story. So my brother and I used to sing together, standing room only at the church. And my mom started getting us booked for weddings and stuff and conferences or whatever. And so I just want to know where that money is, Mom. It must have paid for something. Okay. We were going to this event and my brother and I were supposed to do a duet. The song is called What Can I Do? What can I do to bring them home to you? Okay. To help them find the way. Let me tell you what I don't know the rest of the words. Let me tell you who else don't know the rest of the words. My brother, Anthony Mama. Okay. Let me tell you, me and Anthony got up there for 5 whole minutes and made up words and sang in perfect harmony and riffed to a song that we did not know any of the words to.
Look.
And then the people that paid us and we got more work.
You did what had to be done.
I think I was like 13 or 14 and I was a kid.
You and your brother are up there with Patti LaBelle at the Christmas tree lighting back in 93, was it?
Yes.
Hang all the mistletoe. Where are my cards?
That's it.
Where are my cards? Hold
Where are my cards?
Where are my background singers? Because one thing Miss Patty wasn't going to do was act like she was in an environment set up for her success.
She was not going to do it.
I'm not playing with you people. Where are my cards?
Where are my cards? Where are my backup singers? So being prepared, and you get rewarded again. We got booked for more events after.
Look, don't miss that. You didn't wing it for the loss. You wing it and got a W.
Correct.
You won more.
So then it makes you think that, to an extent, that winging it is your style. It's your flavor.
It's not it's not a strategy, it's a coping mechanism. It's not a solution, it's a coping mechanism.
Maria, say more on that, because I feel like you didn't drop the bar and people don't even know.
Winging it, like we said before, it can come from this fear of appearing incompetent, from this lack of training. It comes from a deficit that you are perceiving, or that could be real. Like if you have not been trained and are asked, go make this thing happen, that's a real deficit.
That's a real deficit, for real.
And so you now are in this frantic cycle of making it up for yourself because you don't feel as if you already have this thing. You don't already have what you need to feel prepared to be able to work in integrity and align with an actual strategy and solution for something. And so you're coping by winging it. You're coping by pretending, right, that the lack or deficit is not actually there when it is. When it's really there. And so it makes me really wonder, what different outcome do we get when instead of I'll just wing it, you say, okay, we need to work toward filling this gap, right?
Yes.
What if instead of, hey, I'm not about to pretend I know how to preside over a meeting, when I could just say to my manager, I'm so excited for the opportunity to preside over this big meeting that I haven't even attended before.
Right.
You mind sharing with me some minutes or some of the tips you have for presiding over this particular meeting so that I can really reflect the amazing choice you've made in trusting me to do this, right? Like that's what I'm going to need to act on that, rather than getting in there and jumping in like, okay, so, per the agenda, let's talk about new business. And everyone's like, whoa, we have 7 decisions we haven't agreed on yet to get there. And now you're like, okay, cool, let's do that then, right? So your ability to go with the flow is maybe not necessarily what's required of you in this moment of management.
And I just think that like the whole idea of like improv, of making it up as you go, is so stressful, not just for you, but also for your team. And I'm thinking about the fact that, like, let's look at onboarding, for example. Mm-hmm. Onboarding actually starts before you start interviewing. My worldview. Other HR professionals that I know agree with me, some do not. But you have to know, before you start interviewing for the human, the person in this role is going to need to understand, see, experience, and learn some things to be successful. And mind you, manager, 70% of their success depends on you. So the onboarding is as much, if not more, for you than it is for them. So when you don't prepare the way and you just throw them into the deep end, what you are in essence saying is that I don't have the tools to teach you how to swim, which means you don't need to trust me because I ain't the lifeguard on duty.
Look, time is a tool. So I don't have the tools. I don't have the time. I'm not going to make the time. You're also communicating this is not a priority.
Correct.
Your knowledge, your confidence in this role, not a priority.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. That's what you said.
That's what you said.
That you said it.
That's what you said. You said swim at your own risk.
Lifeguard is not on duty. Please pay attention to where the red flags are.
Please pay attention to, there you go, where the exits are.
Put on your own life mask before helping others.
Correct. So that is exactly right when it comes to being prepared, because then it allows you space for co-creation and conversation and ease. Every time I talk to a manager who's like, I just throw my team in, I'm desperate to ask, can I take your blood pressure real quick? I just want to know what it is at that moment, because my blood pressure went up and I used to do it. And there are times where I know I'm not prepared, but now I name it, because to me, it is more embarrassing and it is more trust eroding to say nothing than it is to say, here's where I'm at with that. Because 9 times out of 10, your team members are going to have a solution that they've been sitting on for a minute, as we have said.
And even with this idea of winging it as improv, which I would say, for reasons I'm about to explain, I think they're 2 different things. Improvisation comes with rules, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
I actually believe every good manager, if you can self-invest in this, if you can find some free or community workshops, or if you have some professional development dollars to support your management journey.
Shout out to management.
I think an improv course is actually very beneficial because it's not just get up there and act goofy. That might be what it looks like, but there are actual rules that you are following to improvisational experiences. It's the yes and, right? It's the you that there are rules that you have to go with, and I'm not going to give them all away because maybe management should offer an improv course for managers.
Hello?
But there's an experience you're creating, and it requires not only trust of the people you're doing it with, including the audience, right? But also your team, if you're in an improv team. It really requires adherence to the rules. Otherwise, it's not improvisation. Winging it has no rules. And
No rules.
that's where the danger of it is when it comes to working with your.
Because that's the Wild Wild West.
It's pew pew pew. It's
That's the Wild Wild
praise, collateral damage. I mean, you don't want to consider members of your team collateral damage. And to your point, Kashana, this idea people have around the potential for character building,
Yes.
or for some type of baptism by fire, we like to put people through. Like, well, this lets me know who they really are. This presumption you have, right, that people will be like you. That's what that reads to me when a manager's like, "Oh, well, I threw you out there to see what you would do," unsaid, because I'm my expectation is you do what I would do. That's my standard
Woo!
for success here.
First of all, you better get off my line.
Look, that's
You
the
better get off
standard,
my
Lucille.
line. Get off my line. I'm hanging up.
No, don't.
And the reason why I'm hanging up, y'all, is because I want to tell you that if you're doing it at work, you're doing it at home. And let me tell you why. I was in a recent relationship that ended. And one of the things that I was thinking about was who I thought he was and who he was. And well, he's alive, so who he is. And I realized that I was spending a lot of time in potential land and project land. But the brother did not ask me to assess potential, nor did he ask to be a project. And so I had to think about what that meant and why I do it. Now, I know we do crisis and change management work, which in of itself is fixing and correcting things. So, Lord, hello. That's why everywhere you go, there you are. But the second thing, that's why I said I'm going to hang up the phone on you, Maria, is that I actually would see the things that he would or would not do. And the filter that was subconsciously running through my mind was because I would do it that way or because I wouldn't do it that way. Which is not the same thing as getting curious about why you do things that way or why you choose to not do things that way.
Woo!
So if you're doing it at work, probability is high you're doing it at the house. I'm just saying.
I'm just going to let the rest of this podcast time go with you just telling on yourself.
But what God?
Because
it's
it's business to learn from that.
Ciao.
So, I mean, given that, if you could go back, because I'm not a fan of the go back questions, but like the aspiration, the out there is that not only might you be in another romantic relationship again, which I think would be beautiful for the universal vibrations, but also you will be advising and coaching management clients on how they can move out of this winging it practice and coping mechanism into something more sustainable. So what's a healthy framework for coming out of that?
I'm going to say something that might seem like a little bit woo-hoo, but you have to stay present to yourself. For those of us who are high achievers and overachievers, and y'all, there is a difference, okay? For those of us who are recovering people pleasers, or those of us who are still actively in it, for those of us who are taught to be nice, not just kind, winging it tends to go in all of that because you're constantly looking for in the environment on how you got to be with the people that are in the place you're trying to be.
That's it. That's what the people needed to hear. They didn't realize it, but don't miss it. Winging it is reactive. Who wants a reactive manager? Who wants to be a reactive manager? Who?
That just pops off. That just
Not
responds.
you.
That doesn't think. That just does. There's no discipline in
Literally
that.
came into work and said, we're going to do it this way. And you don't know why. There's no reason why. And ding, ding, ding. Here's the secret reason. Someone sent them a meme that morning that
Correct.
they were like, well,
That sparked
I saw an episode of Parks and Rec and I figure why not?
the whole new vision. Okay. So one of the first things that I think in terms of like, and I don't really believe in frameworks too tough, but I'm going to give y'all a sandbox to play in.
I like
You need a management plan that provides clarity and direction. And let me tell y'all something. As adults, we do not remember more than 3 to 5 things. And depending on your age and season in life, it might be 3 and not 5. So if you can't remember it, neither can your team. If they have to look at a piece of paper to tell you what the directives are, then the directives are too complicated. Full stop. So that means when you think about setting goals, you've got to also think about defining roles. And when you think about defining roles, you've got to interrogate how your team communicates so that you can establish communication channels that lean into folks' strengths. So when you're thinking about your management plan, what does success look like for me? When I can look at myself and say, damn, that was a good year. What did we do? Remember I said 70% of your job is your team's success is on you. So if 70% of your success metrics are not about your team, problem numero uno. So what is your plan for the year? How do you plan to dig in with your team at regular intervals? How do you plan to stay present to yourself? So I can flip it personal and business. In the personal side, when your love relationships and your familial relationships, shared family calendars is just one aspect. That's a communication channel. But who actually runs and cleans up the calendar? You got to define the roles. And who sets what the priorities are in our house for the year? That's setting the goals.
Yeah.
How many are we going to have? How do we know if we're successful? And your love relationships are a business, a different kind of business, but a business. And so if we are generally in the business of relationships, then these rules, these ideas, the sandbox I want you to play in apply. But if you're just going through it with, well, that's what you're supposed to do. Says who? Well, you're supposed to know. Says who?
You to take it out of the workplace and put it into all the places where this could apply. This is how we end up with 5011 unregulated podcasts about what you're bringing to the table. Because we winging it.
Because we're winging it. Because there's no plan.
No plan.
Because we're winging it.
You manage yourself.
Yes.
Right? If you say, well, here's what I am looking for. Here is my goal. I have a vision. I have these values that are driving how I set out to achieve my vision. I know who I am communicating with, what I'm communicating to them. This is how I know that this relationship is healthy. I've done the work of deliberating with myself about what success in a relationship looks like for me. I understand my boundaries, my non-negotiables. Even though there's always this opportunity within this dance of being in relationship to lead, to follow, to be led, to do different things. Even with all of that, there is a frame within your that contains your masterpiece that you're making, called your life.
Absolutely.
Called your life. Like, so often, I think the question you ask, well, how did you know it was a good year? Honestly, humans, fellow people, managers, I'm going to say something that may not resonate with all of you, but if it catches you where it catches you, don't resist it. Just
don't
sit
resist
with
it
for a little bit. Could it be that you're winging it because your actual expectations, your actual baseline for what good enough or success looks like is just entirely too low for the person you actually are?
Oh, shut your face.
That's a real question.
Whoa.
I want the people to sit with it. I want the people to sit with it, because if the management expectation is, well, nobody quit, or I didn't have to write anybody up, or
correct,
like, this is like, why is that a goal? So
correct.
I do think it comes back to what you said, Kashan. Start with setting these goals that are real goals, not bare minimums I can live with.
Yeah.
Those
Get
are
out the survival hood.
Distinct things, not the surviving. How do I know that I have, and I had this amazing definition of leadership that I am going to try my best to encapsulate. The provenance on it from me is going to be a little shaky, y'all. I heard it from someone, a bishop who I was under his shepherding when I was a member of a church in Washington, D.C., and he would have these leadership team meetings on Saturday mornings with the trustee board, the deacons, and every head of every ministry, right? And he said, look, let me tell y'all what y'all are doing. Leadership, right, is guiding people toward a shared goal at a pace that they can endure, right? So it doesn't mean necessarily meeting people where they are, because I might meet you and you're stagnant, but it means I'm setting a pace, I'm pushing a pace that I know I can equip you to endure.
Oh,
Right.
you
And
can
that
equip it to
endurance word
endure.
doesn't feel as like flourishing and light as I'd love it to, but I get it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are other things I can add to that definition of leadership
Yeah.
that work for me. Right. Because it doesn't mean that I'm saying endurance is the goal. I'm saying endurance describes the pace. Like I'm not going to push you beyond your limits.
Right. We're not expecting you to run a 50-yard dash for 10 miles.
Right. Right. I'm going to pace you. If we're running a marathon, if I tell you, hey,
Yeah.
y'all, marathon season's coming. If you're not a
Marathon
runner,
season's coming. And managers need to do more of that.
right?
Plug in.
That is 26.2 miles. You do not run that 26.2 miles at the same pace each mile. You
Nope.
should not be setting out the first mile the same way you end that last 0.2 miles, right? We're going to
Absolutely.
break this up. And when the season is over, you know what my favorite part of running a marathon is? And I don't speak from experience because there's no reason in my life I would ever run 26.2 miles.
I'm
I've
like,
been
who are we
friends
running
with
from? No.
I've
These
been
are the
friends with
questions
people
I
who
have.
do these things, and let me tell you, my two favorite parts are before the marathon and after the marathon. The carb loading,
Yes.
invite me to a pasta party, girl. I'm there. I ain't running, but I'm there with you.
I'm there
And the
with you.
recovery,
Solidarity.
wrap me up in warm aluminum blankets, rub my legs down, give me a little ice bath. Like that stuff I love. Now,
Mm.
have I earned
That
those
sounds
things? I
like
have not run the
delightful.
26.2. But I think it's important when you have a team and you're thinking about winging it will keep people running a 400-meter, one lap around the
Yeah.
track pace for 26.2 miles, and then look at them and
Yes.
wonder why is everybody so tired?
Yes.
Because you're reactionary. That's what winging it manager is, a reactionary manner. I'm just going to react
Reactionary.
to what's happening. And then you're not putting a plan in place that actually speaks to the needs of your team, speaks to the goals you have, speaks to the roles you have,
Yes.
and speaks to the ways that people normally communicate. If we know Harry and Ben don't check email, why is everything about this project on which Harry and Ben are integral happening over email?
That's
Like, are we
just
actually going
make
to
it
use this
plain. Make
project
it
time
plain.
to change Harry and Ben? Like, we're probably not. Let's just schedule quick 30-minute check-ins, round robin. Like this, yes, this meeting could have been an email, but Harry and
Right.
them are running it, and they don't check email.
They don't check email. Right. 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 Tap in to how, and that is tapping into how your team communicates. Like, do you want this project done with excellence or not? So you can't be so dug in to the ways in which things have worked for you, to not be present to the way things work for your team. And your job is to create the conditions by which your team will be successful.
Yes, the job is not to change people.
Yep.
And winging it is definitely not a way to change people unless you want to go from satisfied employees to a number of
Job
open
openings.
interviews.
Okay. Exit interviews. Use exit interviews, right? And there are so many tools. I mean, we're kind of in an age right now where we're in tool overload. Let's be honest, right? And so, but there are tools that allow you to facilitate the mundane around process and practice and procedure, right? So leaning into what your organization uses, the thing we always advise our clients is if y'all have a tool, use the tool.
Use the tools you have.
Who are the the power users in these tools that y'all have in your organization? And I notice I said users, plural, not one person in IT who y'all don't like. So in order to keep track of your deadlines, your tasks, even down to how your team learns and communicates, so critical. So critical. Maria, like, I feel like, what are the other tools that you kind of use? And then we're going to wrap it up because I know people are like, oh, I got to go think about all the things y'all said. F
So
these
many.
tools. I got to go think.
I love a good check-in.
Mm.
Love a good check-in. And I don't mean the whole how y'all doing, is the stuff done on time. We know if the stuff is done on time because it's either
Hello?
done or it's not.
Yeah, we know y'all was still working on the document 10 minutes before the meeting,
We
just so you
haven't
know.
received the documents, and I'm going to assume that's because you're not done. Because if you were
Correct.
done, you'd give them to me. So I think, Shauna, I feel
Look,
like I owe
release
you
the
a debt for
stress.
like 2 months. And every time we would talk, I'd say about this deck.
And then y'all, I just want you to know we decided, unless we absolutely humanly have to, We ain't doing no decks.
We should
You're
do
going to
it.
get this straightforward, cleanly and plainly written Google Doc with proper headings
Yes.
and tabs.
Yes.
And if we have to do a voiceover, we're going to drop a voice note in there.
Look, we
But
know
we ain't
you
doing no
are
more decks.
practices.
Because if we don't have to do a deck, we're not doing it. Why? Because the time that it took us to kick this deck back and forth, we could have solved 2 more problems for that client.
We could have had a summit.
We could have had a whole
We
summit.
could have convened a summit. But nevertheless, so let me give you a quick example. And this is a resource. Actually, I think I want to cite the source, the ManageMint Center, which some people might know about. If not, check it out. But there is one way of many, many ways to have a check-in. And I remember there were these set of questions that I was introduced to.
Yeah.
What do I, as the person reporting out, what do I need you to know? What do I want you to know? And where do I need support? Those 3 questions are a fantastic check-in.
That is a fantastic
right?
check-in.
And then you just have to answer them honestly. What do I need you to know? I need you to know I'm really struggling to get this deck done. What do I want you to know? I actually have done all the content generation for what should be put in the deck. I think I'm just having some questions, and I need support, right? Where do I need support? I need support around checking that content and probably design if we're still, dedicated to having a deck. I should not be doing the design, but I've done all the content and I would love some feedback on the content that I have for the check. And now you've opened it up where people can actually contribute to this person's workload on the team. They have an update. They know what, like the update is there. Like, oh, so it's not just you're just doing nothing. You're actually like stuck on, am I doing the right thing? Because you want to do right by us as a team. Cool. Let me tell you, the content looks fantastic.
Let's put it in a memo and keep it pushing.
We love it. Forget the deck. Actually, now that you've called it to question, we are not dedicated to this being communicated in a deck. Let's move on and let's put in the parking lot for next week's meeting a real discussion around our commitment as a team to decks. How do we best want to communicate our ideas outside of this group? It's probably not a deck.
Probably not a deck. So therefore, I then have to make a decision. We're not offering decks. They're going to explicitly ask us for this deck. We can offer this voiceover. We can offer a walkthrough of the document, whether it's asynchronous or synchronous. We can do so many things that we will knock out the park. But these 12 to 23 slides that you are never going to look at again, because people will read a document and never look at another deck.
Doesn't that help you as the CEO, as the leader, to just be able to communicate to clients, here's what we can do. Otherwise, we've left you out there winging it. Because you believe you have a team that's going to produce these decks.
Correct. Ooh, I like that.
Right? Like it helps you not, again, you can manage yourself in such a way that your team helps you do your job easier. We can just communicate, hey, I don't know where all this deck business came from, but I do we have somebody who makes decks? Because it's not me.
It's not
You're
me.
like, oh, I thought, no.
And the truth of the matter is,
slowly, it's because you want it in a deck.
Correct. The truth of the matter is that I still make 1-page summary notes for all of my clients, because most of our clients, as you know, are CEOs. So I still make talking points for the deck. And I still embed, here are the potential objections for this deck in another document. You know what they use in the meeting? These 2 documents I made.
Right.
So why don't we just put up the talking points and be like, hello, friends, I would like to call your attention to bullet 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? That we will discuss for the next 10 minutes. Put a timer on the table and let's go.
Yeah. I do think the regular check-ins and also being open to the feedback. And I think we should do a whole episode on feedback because
we probably should.
I could wax poetic about feedback for hours. I will leave this one little nugget for folks. Feedback is similar to boundaries and invitation. Too often we conflate feedback with criticism.
Yep.
And let me tell you, I love a good critique because I am a high self-critiquer. So my capacity for criticism tends to be a little higher because I know no one's going to come as hard on me as I am on me. And I'm in therapy for that because I don't even need to do that. So I will say that feedback is not just criticism. And it's important to offer guidance to the audience you are requesting feedback from. This is your opportunity to create a registry for your birthday. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a bunch of socks. And so if you are saying, We are at the very beginning. This is a very rough draft. We do not have all of the nuts and bolts in place. All of the rough places have not been made straight. But at this point, we are really looking for feedback on, are we heading in the right direction? That's how you ask for feedback. You don't just flop up the idea you're in love with and say, okay, y'all give me your feedback.
What do you think?
Because
No.
most people on your team think that they are giving feedback on a finished product.
Correct.
So even that nugget of information is critically important and will stop your team from following your example of winging it, because you have a clear idea. They can respond with clarity. Oh, this is just, well,
That's the ripple effect of not winging it.
Yeah, right.
That's the ripple effect. Oh, that was good. We do need to do an episode on feedback because I feel like people are going to be like, huh? So the bottom line, y'all, okay, because we're going to get out of here. Because listen, y'all, I hope you enjoyed the sound of our voices. So good. It's melodic, if you will. It's very, I don't know if you remember from New York, Lenny Green, who did The Quiet Storm at Night. Woo! Honey. So we want y'all to ditch the improvisation. Please take off your wings. Okay? We want you to spread your wings, and also fly the improvisation away. Okay? That's what we want you to do. And embrace structure for better results.
And in the next episode, we will explore the importance of continuous learning in management. And don't think that's a jump from this. It's connected.
It's not.
Because remember, we said the winging it was probably coming from some lack of training or some fear that you weren't prepared. Guess what will help you get prepared? Continuous learning in management.
Oh, I love everything about that. First of all, I'm just like, I'm so excited as we're talking this through because I really do wish that we had these resources when we were stepping into that more seasoned role, but also that more seriousness, right? Of when we didn't recognize that the stakes were high, being a manager. So if you have enjoyed this, y'all, if you're like, okay, Kashana, you, Maria, y'all talking that talk, but how can you bring improv to us? Yes, we can.
I would
Through
love
our restorative retreats, through learning experiences, through our coaching and advisory services, we can help you as a leader, your organization, your team. And at ManageMint, we do that from a place of wellness. We do that from a place of restoration. Okay. We want y'all to thrive and not survive. Okay. We want you to live well so you can lead well. So make sure you subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Follow us on IG at Kashana Palmer and at the Dopwell Group. And drop a review, y'all, okay?
Yeah.
And we want to know, when did you decide that you had enough winging it? And it could be professional or personal. We just want to know. We get in your business. And who knows? It may show up another episode because we love feedback from our listeners. All right, y'all, we're getting up out of here. Thank y'all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
This is y'all.